The vibrancy and enthusiasm at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress is palpable. Representatives from more than 170 countries are in attendance, and it was the first time ever to be hosted on African shores.
It's a historic moment in Africa, simply because the world is here in Johannesburg, South Africa, to promote and sustain entrepreneurship globally. This is a wonderful opportunity for entrepreneurs, industry leaders, partners to gather, exchange ideas, share information, form collaborative business ventures, attract investors, and take their businesses to new levels of growth.
Africa is a very important continent, and there's a huge opportunity for development. And we hope, as European companies, that the role of Africa will be bigger and bigger in the world. So in Europe, we hope to have more and more contact with Africa, since until now, let's say that the relationship was not on an equal basis. So we really hope that Africans can learn from Europeans, but we have to learn a lot from Africans too. So making the contacts between companies, it's important, because when you start doing business together, you don't make wars. You shape a future, and you create wealth for both sides.
Johnson & Johnson is a multinational company which has been in Africa for 85 years now. They say they want to see entrepreneurs in Africa come up with their own solutions in healthcare.
Africa does not lack ideas. What we see a gap is when I look at Silicon Valley and Boston for biotech, the difference is there's funding available. Second is there's a lot of mentorship that happens with entrepreneurs. So for us, I think we felt that those were the two gaps, and we felt, I don't think Johnson & Johnson by itself could do everything, but we also feel that we could start it and get other industries to be involved in this. So our purpose is, one, we want to help some of the innovative ideas progress by funding them, but more importantly, we're actually committing to mentor all the startups to become real companies for the next 2 years. And this is not going to be a one-time thing. This is actually, we want to make sure everything we do in Africa is actually sustainable. Because it should never be about handouts anymore. I think people are so used to thinking, I need funding, and then after that you figure out what to do. I don't think that works very well. It never worked for startups in the US, and we're trying to implement the same thinking here in Africa.
Mentorship programs for budding entrepreneurs and startups are also plentiful in South Africa. My Big Startup representatives were really excited about sharing information on their offering.
My Big Startup is a platform for all startup levels. So very entry level, we have a show called Basic in English and isiZulu, and that provides information, how to start a business, how to register, the basic how-tos for the everyday person to understand how to get into business. We also have a show called The Big Deal, where we interview other entrepreneurs, and I think it's a lonely journey sometimes when you're starting business and you think it's only you that's going through certain things. So it's a really great show that allows you to know what other entrepreneurs are going through and how they overcome and how their businesses are growing. And I think it's always important for entrepreneurs to be inspired and to remain motivated. And then we have another show called My Big Pitch, where entrepreneurs get to come in and pitch their business idea on a particular show, and that will be available for investors to watch. So anybody can sign up on the platform for free, and there's available content on there. There's also a premium subscription where people can sign up onto that side, and that just means they get more information available on that as well.
It's all about stoking the fire, building anticipation and interest. Well, that's the pitch game when it comes to attracting investors. Local entrepreneurs had that opportunity right here at the conference.
So at the pitch zone, what it was is it's a narrowing down. Yesterday we had a pre-pitching of entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, and I've seen a lot of them over here that got through to these pitching zones at GEC. And essentially what's happening is we've got 3 stages, and on these 3 stages there's over 100 companies that are busy pitching for various things, mostly for funding, but they're pitching their ideas, and ultimately these will be narrowed down to I think about 20 companies that are going to be put in front of investors that are from Silicon Valley and venture capitalists from all over the world. What they're really looking for is things like innovation, uniqueness of solutions, and how they're actually solving a problem in the specific sector in a different way that isn't the norm. So what we're seeing is people playing across various sectors, right through from agriculture, finance. So we've got quite a few fintech companies that we've seen, as well as guys who are starting to play in the e-commerce space, but putting a bit of an interesting spin on things, like pulling together and collating various stores and markets, because there's such a plethora out there and they're just pulling all of these together. But I think the really interesting space is starting to see things like innovation in green technology that we've seen being pitched over here, as well as then innovation in the Internet of Things, big data, pulling this together and turning it into meaningful information for the industries that they're targeting.
Over the years, I've had very insightful discussions with African entrepreneurs and captains of industry about the barriers and challenges facing entrepreneurship and the growth of small businesses on the continent. Well, here at this event, I've had the opportunity to chat to international delegates from very advanced economies, and surprisingly, they share similar challenges to us.
In Europe, it's very interesting because, of course, entrepreneurship is very developed, but at the same time, there are a lot of red tape, let's say, to say it nicely, which doesn't allow new entrepreneurs to start new companies easily. Or maybe starting is easy, but managing them and navigating in different administrative situation is very, very hard in many countries. Some of them, they develop very well, especially in Central and Eastern Europe. Western Europe is catching up and slowly understand that they have to make the environment much easier for entrepreneurs.
South Africa's youth unemployment rates are now considered to be chronic. The latest figures show that about 48% of South Africans between 15 and 34 were unemployed in the third quarter of 2016. South Africa is, however, not alone in this challenge.
In Europe, the youth unemployment was a very big issue a couple of years back. Also in Hungary, my country where I'm from, it was very high. And we started to develop programs to help young people start their own companies. And it's more likely that young people employ other young people. So in case we help young entrepreneurs to be self-employed, we develop them to be employers, it has a very good absorption effect on the youth unemployment crisis, because one young company will more likely to employ 2-3 other young people, and when they collaborate and work, they have a very good employment.
Nashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.
Donna, wonderful to see you again. Welcome to Joburg Today. I was so excited to hear about your involvement at the Seed Academy. And we want to talk about entrepreneurship, the state of entrepreneurship. Tell us more about the important survey that your organization conducted recently.
Well, we're in our third year of conducting the survey. We've had unbelievable success with it. It has been growing each year. Last year we had 1,500 entrepreneurs partake in the survey. We're looking to get participation of 3,000 to 5,000 entrepreneurs this year. And really why we do this survey is we want to get a snapshot picture of the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa. Really going to entrepreneurs themselves, understanding their challenges, understanding, how they're building their business, how successful they're being. And based on that, we use the findings as a basis to lobby the ecosystem, to really talk to key influencers about how we can enhance entrepreneurship in South Africa.
I had a look at the survey, and it was quite intense in terms of the depth of what has come through. But if you have to talk about the findings as a snapshot, as you said, how does that snapshot look in terms of the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa?
Well, in our 2016 findings that were not much different to 2015, unfortunately, is that we found that entrepreneurs are incredibly resistant. More resilient than resistant, but they are funding themselves, they are working from home, they have key challenges in terms of accessing finance, accessing customers. The minority are women. We found that only 1 in 3 entrepreneurs is women. We are finding that opportunity is driving entrepreneurs more than not having a job. And that is a very, very significant finding. The reason being because a lot of initiatives in South Africa focus on, helping the unemployed, the jobless, to create businesses. But most entrepreneurs who are successful identify a key gap in their community, in the business world, and are building businesses around that. Another key finding, which is also very significant, is that successful entrepreneurs have prior work experience, and the majority of them have a post-matric qualification.
What would you say is the best place to start for an entrepreneur, for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur?
So in my mind, it should start in schools, is that we should be teaching an entrepreneurial mindset in schools. The key thing about entrepreneurs is you don't just say, oh, here business world, here I am, here's my business, and you kind of fly off to the stars having a successful business. And often what, I believe we're not allowing is people to fail fast. And if you look at all the great entrepreneurs, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, you could name a number of them, they weren't successful right at the beginning. They had to learn and they had to fail fast, and and that's a very important thing. So I think if we started at a school level, it's going to be really beneficial later on for entrepreneurs.
So we've got to inculcate this culture of wanting to develop entrepreneurs.
Exactly, and to understand
or
that
to develop creators.
Yes, innovators, creators, disruptors. That's really what we need, and it needs a very different mindset.
You mentioned that 1 in 3 women are entrepreneurs. Why is that?
I think that women face a number of psychosocial issues, and the majority of programs out there for the development of entrepreneurs don't focus on the unique and specific needs of women. So for example, we have a program called Accelerate Her, which is a 30-day acceleration program focused just on women. We're currently conducting one in Ekurhuleni. We have 25 entrepreneurs, and it's really just positioned to deal with their unique challenges, as well as having fantastic woman mentors, successful entrepreneurs who are women and who can be an unbelievable role model to them.
Sounds very exciting. Tell us which sectors in South Africa is really flourishing when it comes to entrepreneurship.
From our survey in 2016, we found that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the ICT sector. There's a lot in the creative. There's a few in the manufacturing, but not many at all. Strong focus on community and social services.
Interesting. Funding is always a challenge, I'm assuming, for entrepreneurs. Why is that? Is it necessary to have access to funding?
So look, there are 2 schools. There's a school that says entrepreneurs need funding because it's their oxygen, and without it they cannot survive. I come from a strong marketing background, and I really focus on our entrepreneurs learning effectively how to market, how to do business development, and how to sell. Because invariably, if you can do that well, you can get customers. And if you have a very compelling value proposition, your market is going to want to buy you. But very importantly, is that what we find with entrepreneurs is that they are not funding ready. What do we mean by that? If they do approach the IDCs, the CFAs, the CEDAs, any other kind of DFIs, they're not even considered. And the reason being is that they haven't put their financials together effectively, they don't understand their business proposition effectively, and the net result is they're not even on the radar screen of the people who could potentially get them funding. So a key focus of what we do at Seed Academy is really help entrepreneurs become funding ready.
My name is Gareth Cliff, and you're watching Joburg Today.